Welcome on back to another issue of Amazing Spider-Man comic book flashback. Today we are looking at the Amazing Spider-Man issue number 72. This issue came out in May of 1969, and today we are looking at the second appearance of the Shocker. The Shocker makes his return here in this title. We haven't seen the Shocker since issue number 46, and so how is the Shocker involved in all this, as well with the petrified clay tablet that's been the main focus in the past few issues? We'll find all this out, so don't click away because we have an action-packed story to look at today. As always, this is brought to you by Stan the Man Lee, who wrote this issue. We have John Buscema doing the artwork for the first time in this title. We have Jazzy John Romita and Jim Mooney also contributing to the artwork in this issue, as well as Sam Rosen doing the lettering page. And so we start the issue here off right on the bat with the Shocker breaking into Captain Stacy's home. And I mean, he is making a big shock into this issue by attacking Captain Stacy and getting that petrified clay tablet. So why in the world is the Shocker wanting this clay tablet? We're going to find all this out here as we continue to see here, and we don't really learn why or how the Shocker learns where the petrified clay tablet is. We see that with all the confusion and noise going on, it alerts none other than the gorgeous Gwen Stacy. She comes and she checks on her father. She sees that her father is lying on the ground and that the Shocker is in possession of that clay tablet. So we see here that the Shocker has no interest in attacking Gwen Stacy, so he leaves the premises, and we see here that Gwen Stacy is going to call for the cops, and so that will allow us to now see where the Shocker is going next. He goes to this pawn shop, and this pawn shop is known specifically for this main person who is able to contact the big boys. The big boys meaning these high superpowered guys like the Kingpin. And so what the Shocker is trying to do here, as we learned in this issue, is that he wants to use the clay tablet for a specific purpose of making money. So we see here that the Shocker definitely doesn't want to use the tablet for his own purposes, as in, getting the secrets and learning about the secrets, but rather he wants to make money by bidding it to the highest person. So he wants to pawn this thing off. So the Shocker here is making a lot of ruckus right here in the East 40s, and one person in particular learns about where the Shocker is at, and that is Peter Parker. So Peter Parker gets off the bus, changes to Spider-Man, and so Spider-Man is now going to go and locate the Shocker so that he will not cause any more mayhem. And we see here that, once again, awesome action-packed stuff here. We have a great battle scene here between Spider-Man and the Shocker, and the Shocker puts up a valiant fight against Spider-Man by causing this hole to cave in, causing Spider-Man to fall. We see here Spider-Man uses his webbing to his advantage, and he uses that to take the Shocker by surprise, and it seems for a minute that the Shocker is unconscious, but then we learn right here that the Shocker was playing possum. He knocks Spider-Man all over the ledge. We see that the people are starting to panic below, but we see that Spider-Man saves himself by shooting out some webbing so that he can break his fall. So we see here that the Shocker gets away, but Spider-Man uses a spider tracer so that he can locate the Shocker later on in this issue. So we see here that the main thing that Spider-Man was trying to do from the beginning was to send off Aunt May and Anna Watson to Florida. As we learned from last issue, that Peter Parker made a lot of money from the pics that he sold to the Daily Bugle. We know that Joe Robertson is involved, as he's taking care of business while J. Jonah Jameson is recovering from his confrontation with Spider-Man. And so we see here that Peter Parker sends off Aunt May and Anna Watson to Florida, And then he sees there's a newspaper and there's an article written by Kurt Connors. Now we know that Kurt Connors in the past is known for being the Lizard, and he lives in Florida as well. And so, will the Lizard ever make a reappearance? We'll have to find out in later issues, but we just see a little bit of a flashback here with Spider-Man fighting the Lizard back in the day, and how he had to trick the Lizard by causing the Lizard to go into this refrigerated car, so it weakened the Lizard's power so that he was able to defeat the Lizard back then, back in issue number 45. So now let's return to the present. We see that there's a rainstorm coming up, and we also changed scenes here. We learned that Jameson is still furious at the Daily Bugle for printing not only one newspaper about Spider-Man being a hero, but another. And so we see here that the doctors have to hold him still. They have to tranquilize him so that he can fall asleep. We see that Peter Parker catches up with Gwen Stacy. They've been kind of on the rocks lately. We see that Gwen's starting to light up a little bit around Peter Parker, and they are just about to go grab a soda together when we see that they run into none other than Flash Thompson. Now we know that Flash Thompson got drafted to the Army, and he's been fighting in the Vietnam War, so he makes a sudden return, and we see here that Peter Parker starts to get jealous. We know that Peter Parker and Flash Thompson have had a rivalry in the past, especially when Peter Parker and Flash Thompson were in high school. But we see here that Peter Parker overstepped his boundaries, and we see that it causes Gwen Stacy to get mad at him once again. So once again, Peter Parker is just not having any luck with Gwen, as she continues to think of him as a chicken and just a person that seems to never be around when she needs him. And so now let's catch up with the Shocker here. We see that the Shocker is up to his usual stuff. He's trying to steal some money. And so we see here that Peter Parker changes back to Spider-Man to take down Shocker once more. We have an awesome battle scene here with Spider-Man and the Shocker. And the Shocker is going to try his best to stop Spider-Man in his tracks. We learned that the Shocker has hidden the clay tablet in a place that Spider-Man doesn't know, and he's not going to tell Spider-Man where the clay tablet is. And so now we don't know where the clay tablet is or where the Shocker hid it. But we see here that Spider-Man is going to put up a fight against the Shocker, and we see that Spider-Man webs up the face of the Shocker, throws in a few punches, and allows the Shocker to be defeated here, and Spider-Man collects the vibrating blast here, the little power units that the Shocker uses. So now the Shocker is pretty much defeated here, as he doesn't have the main source of his power. But all of a sudden, we see that there are gun blasts going off right behind Spider-Man, and it's the guy that drove the armored car. So the guy thinks that Spider-Man is involved with the Shocker. We see that he fires off 3 more shots at Spider-Man. Spider-Man gets away, and the police are now contacted so that they can collect the Shocker. And so from all this, we learned that the Shocker hid the clay tablet in a place where Spider-Man doesn't know where it's at. And on top of all that, he wasn't able to get a single picture of that battle, as he forgot to set up his automatic camera. And so what's going to happen next issue, as we look at issue number 73, Spider-Man goes up against a new super foe. Who will that be? We'll find all this out as we look at issue number 73. Hope to see you there. And until next time, keep reading comics.